The fry that we stocked into the ponds are taken out in the fall. Before we can get started, a tank is placed on each truck and filled with water.
Alright, now we got tanks filled with water. These tanks, this one holds 125 gallons. This one holds 120 gallons. We can haul approximately 100 to 300 pounds of fingerlings in this tank. They are a little crowded at times, so what we do is we'll add a little non-iodized salt. This kind of helps mellow them out a little, calm them down, relax them. We also will add a little bit of this no foam. With all the fish in there and we have some oxygen going in there, and it just tends to foam up a little bit. So we'll just add a little shot of this, and that cuts down the foam so we can get the fish out later and it's not a foamy mess. In order to ensure that the walleye fingerlings have enough oxygen, we have two ways of doing that. One way would be with an aerator. We don't have those on our trucks. What we do, the other way is we actually send oxygen into the water, goes through a hose into these air stones, and then the oxygen will actually bubble up to the surface. And so that's what we do with our fish, and it's worked great to this point.
Most of the ponds we use don't have any sort of access, or they are on private land, so they can be very difficult to get a boat into sometimes. Trap nets are set to capture the walleyes.
Ready?
Yep.
A net or lead extends out from shore. When the fish try to swim around it, they swim into these hoops and are then captured. The nets are left overnight and checked the next day. One way we help move the fish into our nets is with copper sulfate. When copper sulfate dissolves into the pond, it irritates the fish, causing them to move around, hopefully finding our nets.
Well, we're here at the pond and we're getting ready to collect the nets and dump out the fish and see what we got. So before we do that, we gotta get the tank ready. I'm just gonna turn on this tank of oxygen here, take the lid off and open her up. And then that should get her bubbling pretty good in there.
The way we measure fish is by water displacement. Water is filled to a pre-measured line in a bucket, and then the walleye fingerlings are dumped in. Lines mark 10, 15, and 20 pounds of fish. We will rate the fish on each pond to find out how many fish there are per pound. Fish are then dumped into a tank on the truck for transporting to the lake.
100. Where's your netties?
Once we get to the lake, we back down, hook up a hose, and open the gate to release the fish.
He'll be fine. Lovely.
Sometimes a pond doesn't turn out how we had hoped.
Well, we've lifted a couple of nets here, and it's kind of disappointing. It's a lot of golden shiners in here. The walleyes weren't able to take. As you can see, it's a beautiful pond. It's got a lot of the requirements that we need for a good pond, and it's about 30 acres, maximum depth 6-8 feet, good hard shoreline, easy to set the nets. The frames land in about 3 feet of water, which is ideal. So everything's going for it, except we had a bunch of golden shiners in here, and unfortunately the walleyes were unable to take. We did get a few in here, but they're really tiny, and it's not looking pretty good. Contrary to what people think, a lot of times it's good not to have any other fish species. These walleyes can grow up big just living on the different plankton in the water, freshwater shrimp and so forth. So when you run into these other minnows, what they do is they not only eat some of the fry when they're first stocked, but they also compete for the food. So we gave this pond a try. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to work out this year. Possibly we'll try it again another year. What we need here is a good hard winter kill to kill all the minnows off, or a great share of them, and then maybe the fry will take. So we're just going to have to let this one go for this year.